The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars cause it's live. And through the fight game, we can guide ya. Slick talking, putting them in caution. Passing all the goals cause the audio is awesome. What you waiting for? Spread the word, tell a friend. This the podcast where all of the discussion ends. When they start going strike for strike, this the show that'll tell you what you seen in the fight. They ain't playing on the mic, this a welcome to the show. Warm it up for the squad, Haymaker of the bros. I'm a bow wow, you can hear it from the pros. It's Haymaker Combat Sports on the road.
Welcome back to Haymaker Combat Sports, powered by the Belly Up Sports Media Network. I'm your host, EJ Reed, joined by my fellow host, Aaron Ammeyer, Steve Johnson. Fellas, what's good?
Happy Monday. We're back.
Yeah, same here. Watched the fights this weekend, and that's about it. I did.
Yeah, I didn't have that on my lineup, that France card, but it was a pretty energetic crowd in there. Like I said, it was like a wrestling crowd. You know, I mean, they had some pretty exciting fights from what I saw. I watched all the ones on the main card. I went back and watched some of the ones on the prelims. Like I said, it was pretty entertaining. I think they're pretty much going over there to France once a year. Pretty sure they've been there like every year since like 2021. I have to go back and look at the results, maybe 2022. But yeah, like I said, it was pretty entertaining. Moicano beat Saint Denis by a doctor stoppage. His eye was completely closed. And then you had like, who was it? Who was on the commentating? It was Michael Bisping. He was like, they shouldn't have stopped it. They should just let him fight. Come on, man. That guy couldn't lift his eyelid up. Like, I don't know what he was talking about. And then like he went back on the post-fight show. He was like, they should have stopped the fight. I mean, you're talking out both sides of your mouth now.
I'm going to pull up a picture and see if I can see what his eye looked like.
Yeah, it was completely shut.
His face is crashed.
Both his eyes were jacked.
So yeah, it was the right stoppage. Moicano went in there and quieted the crowd, so to speak. They were going for their home country guy, Saint Denis. And then Brian Battle in there. He TKO'd Josette. He was going full-blown WWE mode, flicking off the crowd and cut a wrestling promo afterwards, say like rah rah America. That was pretty entertaining as well. Yeah, I did have this on my docket, but I was going to talk about it like a standalone incident. Eileen Perez, she defeated Daria. I'm going to botch her last name. I think is Zelniakova. I know y'all probably saw this.
On her.
Yes, I know y'all probably saw that wearing viral. She did the twerk over her corpse, and I don't know. Y'all think this is fair play, or y'all think it was out of line? I might start over you.
I've seen people do worse. It's fine. I mean, it's cheesy, but whatever. That part spread like wildfire. I seen that on TikTok like right after it happened.
I bet you did. I bet had a bunch of hits on that and whatnot. What about you, Steve? What do you think about those antics?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Like I said, we watch UFC, and I'm not looking for it. It's popped up. I'm married, but I will say, I will be tuning in her next fight just for the entertainment side of it. I think the closest we've seen that, Betch Kohei, she would do a little something like that, but I think as along the lines that she did, the Bellator, I don't know if y'all are Laredo or something like that. She does
Valerie Laredo. She's now in wrestling. Yeah,
and I think that was her big, her promotional asset. No pun given. Her asset that gets her people to watch her. So I hands off to her. I thought that was unique for her to do.
So you always see it go viral with like the lower level MMA organizations, especially in the boxing world. You have a lot of OnlyFans that go viral with these antics, that do boxing. They're OnlyFans girls and they box too on the lower level, but you're starting to see it, kind of trickle up to a higher level of competition. Y'all think this is a trend since UFC is having, issues. I don't want to say issues, but they're not putting out like the superstars like they are in the past. Is that the trend just for fighters to go viral now? Think, Admire?
Yeah. I mean, they got to do something to kind of just get their name out there. I mean, UFC is still one of the biggest It is the biggest organization in MMA, but it's still one of the top entertainment organizations. So once it kind of peaks, everybody kind of levels out, and you got to do something to set yourself off, and do something different, and going viral. OnlyFans, different stuff like that. That keeps that cash flow coming between fights, because some of these people don't, have but one fight a year, so they got to do something.
Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, I think there was a certain point in the UFC, especially after Conor. I think Dana promoted and had a speech with everybody, I think, to say that you have to do more than fighting, especially if your fighting style doesn't bring audience in. You definitely have to have that personality, and this is what gave birth to the Colby Covingtons and all of these other fighters. And then sometimes you see fighters miss to where they tried to do it, but it's just not their character. But I think certain people use their unique personality as to what they can do to promote their name.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with what both of y'all said. This probably is the trend. They don't have the opportunity to wear their own like sponsors and brands now because of Venom, and before that Reebok. So they got to have a way to show their personality some. Not everybody is good on the mic, so especially with the younger audience who grew up in like the social media era, I think you're gonna see this as more of a trend. People trying to go viral. It's good for hits, and maybe it'll draw them to social media, but I don't know how much money they're gonna actually see from these little short clips. It'll go viral one day, and then people will forget about it the next day. I don't know how much of a staying power or sustainability that has. I just like to see UFC trying to promote and build the new superstars of the future, so they don't have to go viral. I mean, or do both. Like you can do both. Like you can have your viral moments, but I still want to see UFC promote these fighters like they should. I mean, I don't know where I heard this on or where I read this on about how UFC is, it's the biggest MMA organization, so of course they're gonna have eyes on it. So once a star does break through, they're gonna have the UFC to kind of piggyback off of that. But UFC has never really created a star. It's usually a star's personality that creates themselves, and they're just on the biggest platform of UFC. Like McGregor probably would have been McGregor regardless. He just had the UFC like to give him that extra boost, and the GSPs of the world, and before that, Tito Ortiz's and Ken Shamrocks. And then what's that? Go ahead.
Do you remember the fighter Jordan? I think last I remember he got beat by
the one
Patty Kimblett. Yeah, I was about to say, if she said if he can do it, she can do it.
Yeah, exactly. Equal opportunity for gender to twerk. But yeah, I mean, because like if it was that easy to create the next star, UFC would have done it by now. So it's gonna take one of these fighters just to break through. Sean O'Malley was on the brink, but I don't know, that loss didn't help him, and I don't know. He always just seemed kind of like a rich version of McGregor. Like he got the crazy look, but to me, he's a little bit bland on the mic. But I don't know. Maybe we'll see somebody break through. I know O'Malley was Admire's guy and whatnot, but who knows what's going to happen with his next fight. But in other news, another one of Admire's guys, Sean Strickland, is back in the news. He's getting into it with David Goggins. We all know I guess he's a motivational speaker. He was an ex-Navy SEAL and whatnot. He was cornering somebody. Who was he cornering?
I think Goggins corner
Tony Ferguson. It was Tony Ferguson, wasn't it?
Yeah, he did Tony Ferguson. Yeah, Goggins is like a 2-time Navy SEAL, like wrote books, done like all these impossible, feats of, what is it, like cardio. Yeah, like David Goggins is pretty badass.
So apparently him and Sean Strickland have had an ongoing rivalry. I didn't even know about this, and this is being reported by Bloody Elbow. I guess they're going back and forth on IG and TikTok. That's where Goggins inspires people with exercise and whatnot. And then he was claiming he'd be willing, Strickland that is claiming he'd be willing to spar Goggins in the gym. I don't know why. Goggins is uninterested and not replying. And then they asked Strickland about it more recently. And when Strickland was on the Schmo, everybody knows him, that interviewer that was, been viral the past couple of years. He took aim at him again. He said, I don't know, they're bleeping this out. So it said the moment these, and then it says see, so I'm assuming it's to see you next Tuesday, become influencers, fair game. You're supposed to be a badass Navy SEAL. You're supposed to be murking motherfuckers. Now I see you roided out on the gram talking about staying hard. You don't know what hard is. You're an influencer. I could fuck you if I wanted to, Goggins. That's where you're coming. Yeah. But that being said, Goggins, I will break your fucking face. Dude, I will end your little ass. And he said some more stuff, but basically more of the same stuff. He said, you think you're back in Afghanistan? So I guess he's bringing up his military pass. You don't want a piece of this. So he basically challenged him to come to Vegas and I guess fight. But I don't know. It's slow news week, but what do you think about this, Haymaker?
Strickland's crazy, man. Like, we talked about him fighting that one YouTuber, that Sneeko or whoever. There's another video of Strickland sparring off with like another military guy. I think it was a Navy SEAL or something, beating the shit out of him. Like, at this point, like, Strickland started out, and the reason he got a lot of fans was he was like anti-bully and like all that stuff. But realistically, he's the bully. He's sitting here trying to fight these guys that aren't fighters. These guys are like military. He's done it with, straight jiu-jitsu guys that, that's all they practice. They don't do stand up. He's trying to fight all these people in the gym that aren't pro fighters. Like, it's cheese dick to me at this point.
Yeah, like you said, it started off as anti-bullying, and I don't know what it's transformed into. Him trying to fight influencers and motivational speakers. It just looked all the way crazy and kind of like thirsty. But what do you think, Steve?
Yeah, I think he's putting his out views in the wrong energy in the wrong places. Like, I admire say, like going to somebody and being in your realm to challenge him. I don't think that proves anything. I think they even had a little like back and forth. He said he'll do a training camp with him as far as military, as far as that. He wasn't going for that, I guess. I don't know. I guess this is at a point to where you made it and you're at you claim superstardom, supposedly you're a champion. When is it to where that you get at a level of success and still mad at the world? I think he has a lot of soul searching to do.
Yeah, I mean, what was his last fight? Was his last fight against DDP, or did he have a fight after that?
No, he beat the guy that I got roasted for saying he should be.
Oh yeah, Brazilian.
Why can't I think of his name?
Both of us are blanking on it. This is the Brazilian pumped up guy that Izzy.
Paulo?
Yeah, Paulo Costa.
Paulo Costa, yeah.
Yeah, he did have that Paulo fight in between, so that's why they probably want to get him in there between DDP. Yeah, I mean, so it's not like he's on like a spiral because of a loss. I don't know why. Maybe just a way to keep him self-relevant and whatnot. I don't know. I guess it's working. He still he has it's not on the level as a Diaz who follow Diaz, whatever he does, but it's like the diet version of it where fans just want to follow whatever he says, and it's a little annoying, but I usually don't pay too much attention. But like I said, it's a slow news week, so I guess do you, Sean Strickland. But before we get in this card, is another guy who's kind of polarizing, Conor McGregor. He was on a live stream recently, and this is a reporter by MMAfighting.com. They asked him about like the Chandler fight, which we know Chandler's fighting Oliveira now, but I guess Conor's still thinking he's fighting Chandler. He said when they asked him, I guess, and maybe in the chat or whatnot, he said, "Okay, Chandler's next." So I'm guessing after Chandler fights, and then he says, "Bilal McGregor, UFC welterweight title, world title fight. I have multiple knockouts at 170. I'm a force to be reckoned with at 170. I'll do damage at 170." He said, "Check the stats, 100% accuracy. This man hasn't even got a knockdown in UFC history. No knockdown." And then yada, 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 he goes on. And then he also asked him about Ilya Topuria, and he had some stuff to say about Ilya Topuria. I'm quoting him directly. He says, "Bop, bop, bop, bop," whatever that means. "I grabbed him by the scruff of the chest and slapped the little nose off of him." Talk about Topuria, little ding dong of a thing he is. He said, "I'm fucking Spanish. I'm Marbella, bro. I'm in Marbella at bare knuckle stall. Let's see what's what. We'll bounce and have a bare knuckle, you little fool. I'll cave your head in, you little short ass thing. I'll box your jaw in." So a lot to take in. He's popping stuff off at the 170 champ, the welterweight champ Bilal, and the 145 champ in Ilya. What are your thoughts on this latest McGregor rambling that's going on, Amar?
That's all it is. It's just him rambling. Like he's like it's almost to the point of embarrassing where like, dude, you're coming off all these losses and you keep talking all this shit, but you ain't ever fighting nobody. You're not doing anything. You know, when we talked about him and Chandler when it was officially signed, I said I'm the one that said it ain't gonna happen. You said that you believed it was gonna happen. I knew deep down it wasn't, because he's just not the same person. He's already rich. Why go bust your ass, risk another loss, the embarrassment and everything else, when you can just talk shit and keep the eyes on you? Like, he's not getting punched in the face, he's not losing, but he's still staying in our mouth. So I mean, maybe we're the silly ones for still talking about him, but like he can't fight for a belt anywhere, or that belt means nothing if they let him fight for it. He hasn't earned it. He hasn't done anything. And everybody in, the kind of MMA world was saying, "Oh, Chandler's trying to use McGregor for clout and money and all this and that." Maybe it's McGregor using Chandler's name because, Chandler's moved on, but McGregor's still saying they're going to fight. It isn't going to happen. It's never going to happen. Like, I mean, I'll say McGregor will never even fight in the UFC again. I'll stand on that.
Well, hold up. I got to go back to respond to what you said earlier. We've been doing this show for like a year and a half now. I think I said real early on I thought he would fight Chandler, but I got off that train like mid to late 2023. I'm like, he's probably not going to fight him anymore. So, I backed off. I said that once, but I backed off that a while ago based on his antics. But I'll let you respond now, Steve. I'll give my thoughts.
Yeah, I think Conor's just playing with his name. Name has stock, and bet you guys he says somebody out there to see, what generates him money. If he probably has outside assets too, making money. Plus, who knows how much money he has? He's probably good. He can just settle around, and plus, I think he's been around to claim himself that he's ready to retire. I say he may do one more fight and be done. If not any fight, I don't have any confidence in it.
Yeah, I think he's going to fight in UFC at least one more time. Who it's against, I don't know. Maybe they'll try to do the Diaz trilogy. But I wouldn't be surprised, like Am I said, if he doesn't fight in the UFC. But I just think, he's 36. he's just got that ego and that pride that he just doesn't want to leave the game alone, even though he could retire. You know, pride is a hell of a drug. But as far as him challenging Bilal Muhammad, I mean, we all know how that fight is gonna go. He'd get ragdolled and wouldn't be much of a fight. Bilal does that to people that probably could fight in 185. A lot of those 170ers are like on the borderline, can fight 185. What do you think? And McGregor can barely make 170. He has to constantly eat to make that weight. But what are you gonna say, am I?
Well, this kind of leads to something I was going to say a little bit later when we get to the main card that's coming up, but I'll just kind of touch on it now. I think McGregor doesn't fight because people have figured him out. And it's kind of what is going on with, Piera. Everybody, like McGregor talked all this shit to everybody he's always fought, and he gets under their skin, and it goats them into playing his game, the stand-up. Well, the blueprint's been laid. Don't play his game. Don't fall for it and just take him down, and you can beat him. So I think that's one reason that McGregor isn't fighting, because people are past that. They know not to do it now. It happened to so many people. Aldo, Eddie Alvarez, all these people that could have done well on the ground against him, but chose to stand with him. So kind of like, that's what I'm saying about Piera, is like, he's such a good striker. Everybody tries to play his game and strike with him. Everybody wants to beat the guy at their own game. And that's just why I don't think you're going to see McGregor fight again. People aren't falling for it anymore.
Go ahead.
Once somebody kind of realizes that with Piera, they're going to start trying to really take him down and fight him on the ground. There's just too many people that try to stand up.
I mean, you could say that with like a bunch of strikers like that people figure out their game, but I mean, that's why it's your duty, if you're a striker, to evolve, because you can say that about Silva. I mean, even though he has some pretty good takedown defense, but sometimes when he got down there, he looked kind of like, and he's a black belt jiu-jitsu, but like when Chael took him down that first fight, he kind of looked like out of place down there. And Adesanya is a stand-up dude. You could say people kind of figured him out. But I mean, I don't, even though people might have figured McGregor out, I just think he's just that much of a madman where he's got that much pride where he just get back in there, even though that might happen. I think he'll be wiser with the matchups he picks. Like maybe that's why he wants to fight Chandler again, because maybe he's like, oh, this guy might take me down. So that's why I say we might see that Diaz trilogy.
Yeah, I 100% think that's right. I think he knows Chandler's a Missouri wrestler, man. Just gonna go straight in there and take him down, not gonna play his game. And if McGregor does happen to have a fight in the UFC, it's gonna be a stand-up guy. They're not gonna put him against any of the Dagestani guys or any of the Russians or anybody like that, because it's just gonna be a takedown right out of the gate. So they're going to have to match him with somebody that will play his game, and Diaz being one of them, and maybe Thompson, somebody like that that's a predominantly just stand-up guy.
That'd be a weird matchup for him to face Stephen Thompson. That could be either fireworks or a dud if like Thompson stayed on the outside and did his karate thing, but.
Yeah, but that's just the point I'm making, is you're not going to see him against anybody with high level wrestling, because it just is what it is now.
It depends. If he's like adamant about going for a title, then he would have to probably face a wrestler. Like if he is adamant about wanting that welterweight title, it just depends what he wants.
His quickest way to fight for a belt is if Max, wins, and they've already got that storyline of them before. Max will play his game, will stand up and trade with him. That's McGregor's fast track to the belt.
Well, I was gonna get into this. I didn't even think about the Max element of it, but with the Superior, don't y'all think that's his fastest way back? I always thought that like if he won the title, he needed to cut back down to 145, even though he looked like Skeletor down there. We've seen fighters go back down and weight. Like we saw Aldo go down to 135 after years and years of people thinking he was too big for 145 and he needed to go to 155. He took that next step in his career and cut back down. So do you think like 145 would be his best bet to be more competitive and maybe get a title, like you said, maybe the winner of Tapiri and Holloway? I think you probably have like a puncher's chance against either one of them too. So I don't know, Admire, what do you think?
Yeah, if he could do it and if he could be disciplined enough. But it goes back to kind of what I said earlier. He's got that mountain of money over here. Why cut all that weight? And, you know, that's a hard weight cut. He did look like a skeleton, man. Like, why put yourself through that when you got this mountain of money over here and you could probably talk your way into possibly a fight at, you know, somewhere, a walking around weight where you have to gain a little weight. Just my thought.
Steve?
Yeah. I think a lot of his strategy may have been trying to see how fights been panning out, and nothing's been panning out over the years for him to possibly make a storyline to come back. Like I said, that Max Holloway one is good. Cutting down. I don't know if he's Conor McGregor, the position he's in, but Holloway may agree to go up to lightweight as champion and meet Conor McGregor. Who knows? Yeah, those are my thoughts on it.
I mean, Admire does have a good point, though. I mean, if he could get off the yachts and stop eating the caviar and whatever high-end meals he's eating, he could probably cut down to 145, but it takes a lot of discipline.
Looks pretty big now. I think he looks pretty big now.
I hadn't seen a picture of him, but I'm sure he's not in fight shape right now, so I can see him being 170s, maybe even 180s. But
didn't he only hurt a toe?
No, I think I don't know. It's been so many things. You're probably right. I don't even want to put any misinformation out there. I can't remember why he pulled out of the last Chandler fight they had made, because it was supposed to happen at International Fight Week and whatnot. I don't know. Maybe something lower body extremities and whatnot, but like I said, I'm not gonna believe he's fighting until the week of the fight, maybe even the night of the fight. But like always, we'll keep posted and see what happens with McGregor. But let's get into this fight that's happening this weekend. UFC 307. It feels like it kind of snuck up on us. I feel like we were just here not too long ago talking about that Spear card. And this fight is happening in Salt Lake City, Utah. I don't know. Maybe you have more insight on this, Admire. Why are they going to Utah pretty much every year now since the pandemic? They like going to Utah now.
I don't know. It was something that you never really heard about, and then it turns into a once-a-year thing. They must have a good turnout there or something just to keep the people interested. I know that Salt Lake it's already a big city, but it's kind of growing as far as the sports world. Like they have a bid in for like a baseball team. If there's ever an expansion team, they want to get an MLB team out there. So I think it's kind of just growing as far as sports. I think that
they just got that hockey team out there. They took the Coyotes, right?
Yeah, I think they got the hockey team. They got a WNBA team. They got the Utah Jazz, of course. So, I mean, they're just kind of growing as a sports hub, I
don't want to get too far off topic, but I didn't know MLB was thinking about expanding. That's crazy.
Yeah, they've always been trying to get a team out there in Nashville. So the MLB, if they do expand, they're going to go Nashville, Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City tried to get the Oakland A's to move there.
They're going to Vegas.
They're going to. Oh, it hasn't been officially signed that they're going to Vegas, but it's like most likely.
They're going to Vegas. They demolished the Tropicana. They're going to Vegas.
Right. And then there was even talks of Kansas City Royals being sold.
Wow.
And Salt Lake City was one of the leading bidders on wanting them to move there.
Just expand if you're going to do that. There's no need to rip more teams from cities that support their teams. But what I know, I'm not a business person. But yeah, UFC 307 reporting live from Salt Lake City this Saturday. This card is kind of sneaky good, but like we always do, we'll start from the early prelims. And on Fight Pass and ESPN Plus in the welterweight division, we had Court McGee. That's a old name to hear about, Court McGee. And we had versus Tim Means, and that's another old name. So they're kicking it off on Fight Pass and ESPN Plus. And then the women's strawweight division, you got a former champion, Carla Esparza versus Tisha Pennington, formerly known as Tisha Torres. So I'm guessing she would want to define the same card as her wife. And then to round up those early prelims, we had in the light heavyweight division, Ryan Spann versus OSP. So that's what I'm saying. This is kind of sneaky good if you have that on the early prelims. I feel like they should have probably switched around these fights with the regular prelims, but maybe they're trying to give shine to younger fighters, because on the prelim cards we have in the middleweight division, it only has 3 fights from the source I'm seeing right now, so maybe they'll add more. But we have Silza Almeida in the middleweight division versus Ior Vitoria. In the women's strawweight, we have Marina Rodriguez versus Yasmin Luciendo. Then to top it off, this is a pretty good one. In the welterweight division, we have Stephen Wonderboy Thompson versus Joaquin Buckley, St. Louis kid. So between the early prelims and the regular prelims, any of these fights piqued your interest, Admire?
Yeah. I mean, the early prelims and the regular prelims are pretty banger. I do agree with you that probably should have been switched around, but I think you got Stephen Thompson and Buckley headlining that prelims. That kind of outshines the top one of Spann and OSP.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it, but I have a wedding that day, and and I have tickets to the playoff games for the Royals if they make it past Baltimore the next 2 days. So I'm either going to be at a wedding or I'm going to be at the ball game. So I'm not going to catch these live, but I'm definitely going to go back and watch these, because I mean that right there, prelims and early prelims, that could be a fight night card by itself.
Yeah, especially what they've been putting out recently. Definitely. What are your thoughts, Steve?
Yeah, this looks, it will entertain me from bottom to top. I always like when Tim Means fight, so that's the first card, first fight on the card. Like you said, former champion Ryan Spann's been promoted to get to that stardom. Owen St. Preux, I think that's another veteran who's been in the game. And of course, I always look into Joaquin Buckley, and of course, Stephen Thompson brings an entertaining fight in Joaquin Buckley, because he's from Missouri. I always look towards him, and it's good all the way up. I looked over that Kevin Holland fight, so I'll be entertaining this whole card.
I didn't even see that on mine. Kevin Holland's fight. Oh yeah, that's on the main card. We'll get into that a little bit. We'll get into that a little bit, but I'm with y'all. It should be a pretty entertaining early prelims and prelims. I don't know. It depends on what I'm doing Saturday. I might be in and be able to catch those early prelims, but if not, I'll definitely catch them on replay. Esparza, Pennington, that should be interesting. OSP's been kind of floating around, and Ryan Spann, he was on that knockout streak for a while, and then he kind of ran into a wall, but he's on a 3-fight losing streak now. But he knocked out Reyes and he submitted Kudalaba, but he had that rematch against Smith. I don't even know why that was a rematch. I think maybe the first fight ended weird, but Smith beat him twice, and then Krylov beat him, and he got TKO'd by Guskov. But we'll see if he can bounce back against OSP, who's been also on a weird kind of fight streak as well. And OSP, a former title challenger. Remember that fight he had? I think it was an interim title fight, weirdly enough, against John Jones. And then yeah. So like I said, hopefully I have time to tune in that Wonder Boy fight. Hopefully we'll see Buckley bring the fight to Wonder Boy, because we know if you kind of sit back, Wonder Boy will kind of lull you and pick you apart from the outside. So I'm hoping Buckley will bring the fight to Wonder Boy. Hopefully there's some fireworks in that fight. But let's go to the main card, fellas. To kick this one off, Steve already touched on it a little bit. In the middleweight division, we got Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland. Should be an interesting one. Who you got in this one, Admire?
Man, I'll start off. I'm going with Roman on this one. I just think he's all around a better fighter. I think that he's the bigger fighter. You know, you got to think Roman just came off of a fight at light heavyweight against Anthony Smith, where he did beat Anthony Smith by decision. So I think he's the bigger fighter. He's ranked higher, but the odds makers in this one have Kevin Holland at a -170 favorite and Roman at +142. So I'm taking Roman on this one. I'm taking the underdog.
Steve.
Yeah. You said he fought at light heavyweight. And I think I've seen him fight before. Yep, he did fight Anthony Smith. But then again, every time I don't pick Kevin Holland, he always puts a surprising knockout out of somewhere or something like that. I'm gonna have to go. I'll have to go with Roman Dolidze.
Okay. Any particular reason?
Only reason why I'm picking him is he's not reliable, and then as far as Kevin Holland, and then I'm trying to think if he's fought anybody a bigger size or a mass, and it doesn't seem like middleweight. Kevin Holland would carry over to light heavyweight pretty good, so I'm just going off of who would be the bigger fighter that day, and I'm guessing Roman Dolidze, if I'm saying his name right, will be bigger and probably overpower Kevin Holland.
Well, are you saying it's a light heavyweight?
Well, this fight's a middleweight, but
yeah,
Roman's last fight was at light heavyweight.
Yeah, I thought it's a middleweight fight.
And I mean, Holland, the biggest, Holland's actually fought down before. He had a catch weight at 180, and he used to be at welterweight. His last time that he went down was against Chimaev at 180, like 2 years ago. So I mean, I think Kevin Holland's going to be pretty undersized, but I wouldn't be surprised with what, like Steve said. I bet against Holland every time, and then he'll pull a knockout from somewhere, or hook up with a submission somewhere. But yeah.
A little torn on this one. I'm gonna go with Roman on this one, just because I think he's probably gonna just try to use the grappling and try to wrestle fuck Kevin Holland. But Kevin Holland is crafty, so I wouldn't be surprised if Kevin Holland was able to maybe overcome it and knock him out. Both of them are on a 1-fight winning streak, so Holland is the slight favorite, but I'm gonna go with Roman on this one as well. Next fight in the women's bantamweight division, we have Ketlin Vieira versus Kayla Harrison, the highly touted Kayla Harrison. Who you got on this one, Admire?
This one's a easy pick for me. I gotta go Kayla Harrison on this one. Just bigger, stronger, does everything good. Not to take anything away from Ketlin. Ketlin's kind of a legend slayer. She's beat Holly Holm. She's beat Misha Tate, Kat Zagano, Sarah McMahon. She's got a lot of great wins to her, but her most recent, she did lose to Pennington a couple fights ago. So, I got to go with Kayla Harrison on this one. Odds on this one heavily in Harrison's favor, minus 800 favorite to a plus 550. So, I
It's
mean,
absurd.
yeah, it's absurd. And I mean, Kayla Harrison's ranked number 3. Ketlин's ranked number 2. So I would expect this to be the win that gets Kayla Harrison that title shot.
Well, Dana White already said this is a title eliminator, so the winner gets the winner of the co-main event in this one. Steve, who you got?
I'm going for Kayla Harrison. She pressed me the last fight she was in. Total powerhouse. I can see her just powering through her without a hand of a doubt. Of course, there's a puncher's chance, but other than that, odds for me is Kayla Harrison.
Yeah, for anybody that's been following the show, if you know, I've been singing Kayla Harrison's praises even back when she was in PFL and wondering when she's going to get over here. So she had that one hiccup in her last fight. I can't remember who she fought. It was in 155, but she lost that fight, but then came over here and won in emphatic fashion at UFC 300. But yeah, I'm going to go with Kayla Harrison, those odds, and I just think Kayla Harrison is going to bulldoze her. You know, it's MMA, so anything can happen. So, but I think Kayla Harrison is going to win. She'll probably get the finish, and then spoiler alert, she'll probably go on and beat the winner of that co-main event. But you know, once they make that fight, we'll actually break it down a little bit better than that. But let's go to this next one in the men's bantamweight division. Former UFC featherweight champion Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista. What are your thoughts on this one, Amar?
Good to see Aldo still doing it, you know, still fighting at a high level, you know, even though he's been around forever, getting a little bit older, 38 years old. You know, man, this is kind of a hard one for me. But Batista, you know, the younger fighter, Aldo, you know, has the experience. I was looking through Aldo's record. He's only lost in the UFC to champions, former champions. Like, he doesn't have any like losses that just really throw you off, you know. This is a tough one for me. I'm gonna go with Aldo. He is the underdog, plus 145. Batista's minus 175. Not too much of a swing there, but yeah, give me Aldo. I think he's got one last little run in him to get up in that top 5.
Steve?
I'm gonna have to go with Aldo, just because his experience and he can still have power in his punches even at his age. So looking at the fight of Mario Batista and really couldn't see anybody significant other than Corey Sandhagen. I think that was 2019. But other than that, I really don't know anybody he's beat.
Ricky Simone.
Well, Ricky Simone, yeah. And I don't think that would be enough even for the skills to even beat him. I think Jose Aldo always had excellent takedown defense. I think he might get the knockout, honestly. Jose Aldo, I'm going for.
I don't even know when's the last time he's gotten a knockout. Now that you bring that up,
I
have
think
to go back and look at the archives and see when the
Jeremy
last time
Stevens was it? Like in the
he got one.
body shot?
Speaking of Money Moicano, he got one against Moicano back in 2019. I can't even remember that fight. Maybe that's some homework out there. Go back and watch that fight. I don't even remember that fight. This is pre-pandemic too, and I was still in California at this point. But yeah, this is in Brazil, a Brazil card. And then right before that was the Stevens fight you were just talking about. That was in 2018.
Yeah, I think as far as you said, his last knockout, that's the significant one I remember. You got him with the body shot and he crumbled him and finished him on the ground.
So Bautista's on a 6-fight winning streak. I say he keeps that train going. I think it's going to be a very competitive fight. And I think Bautista gets the decision in this one and keeps that train rolling and see where the cards fall with his pecking order in the bantamweight division. So Steve and Admire got Aldo. I got Bautista in this one. Moving on to the women's bantamweight division, we got Raquel Pennington, the champion, finally defending that belt against Juliana Pena, the former champion. Admire, what are your thoughts on this one?
This one for me, this one's kind of a toss-up as well in my head. Of course, Rocky Pennington, we know everything she's been doing. And then Juliana Pena hasn't fought for a couple of years, coming off a loss to Amanda Nunes. But she does have a win over Nunes as well. I'm going to go against my better judgment, and I'm going to say Juliana Pena, just because she's had a layoff. I don't think there's going to be ring rust. I think that she spent 2 years just busting ass preparing for this. The odds makers have Pena, my pick, at a plus 150 underdog, and Pennington at a minus 180 favorite.
Guess they might know something we don't know. Steve, what are your thoughts?
I'll definitely go with Juliana Pena, just because I don't see Raquel going for takedowns. And if she stands up, like Admire said, she's fought Nunes and won, hurting Nunes on the stand-up. I think she may be able to pull it off as far as if they keep it standing up, because I can't even remember Raquel going for a takedown.
You can't remember Raquel Pennington ever going for a takedown?
Not too much to, it's in her game plan. That I think if she's good enough and it stays on the ground up, I think Juliana Pena has a good ground game to take down. But I don't think Raquel Pennington, I can't recall that she uses her wrestling or anything like that to.
Yeah. Bro, she's got that guillotine choke over Macy Chazon. This was back in 2021. So I think they said she's a purple belt and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So take that for what it's worth. So, I'm not gonna go off my pick because when Admire pulled up the odds, I pulled up the odds myself, and it's pretty much on par with what Admire said. I didn't think Pennington would be going in as the favorite, but I'm guessing they're giving her the benefit of the doubt because she's a champion, because it's pretty close. You could pretty much call it a pick 'em. But I'm gonna stick with my pick. I'm gonna go with Pena. I think she's hungry to get that belt back. How she wins, I don't know. Probably decision. They might stay standing. I don't know if they're both gonna maybe try testing that wrestling. I really don't know how this fight's gonna go, so I'm not gonna try to overanalyze it, but I'm curious to see how it goes. And I think Pena will get it back, but who knows? This fight go either way because Vegas knows what they're talking about, so it's going to be probably close. But that's why they put him off in the cage to see what's happening. So we'll see what happens Saturday. Let's talk about this main event, though. Light heavyweight division, you got your champion Alex Pereira versus the challenger Khalil Roundtree Jr. Pereira's been a pretty active champion too. He just fought at 303 and then 300, so he's been staying busy. What are your thoughts on this one, Admire?
Yeah, so I was going to bring that up while we talked about this fight. I like what Alex Pereira is doing here. A lot of people become champion and then they have 6 months to a year between fights, and he's actually cashing in on it. He's getting the money while he's hot. He's staying active. He's getting a fat paycheck every 2-3 months at this point. I mean, he's doing it right. He's not letting his championship reign and his golden years go to waste waiting that long time. For the money wise, it's a good plan, but eventually maybe it's going to wear on him, maybe not. But this fight, I mean, the odds are so one-sided on this that you can't pick against him. I'm not saying Roundtree's a bad fighter, but Roundtree beat Anthony Smith to get this title shot. That's kind of a big jump up in competition. You know, I know Anthony Smith has fought for a title before, but he's not the same guy that he used to be. Other than that, Roundtree doesn't have a lot of big names on his resume. He beat, Dustin Jacoby, that, a lot of people might have heard of, but other than that, he hasn't. And he's taken some knockout losses. Johnny Walker knocked him out with the elbow. So he doesn't have the best striking either. He doesn't have any submission wins. So he's not going to go in there and take Alex down, make it a dog fight or anything. This is going to be a stand-up fight where Pierre is just going to own the whole thing. I'm taking Pierre first round knockout.
Okay, Steve.
Yeah, this is good styles. But like I was thinking what Admire said, I just think of the Johnny Walker and somebody of his stature or even that can punch or do something quick like Pierre style can. I just, and plus Anthony Smith, everybody's been beating Anthony Smith lately, and like you said, he has not been the same. And I don't think the credentials are there. Although I think Khalil may have a puncher's chance, definitely. But as far as skill, and I'm always thinking about Pierre's left hand, and on top of that, can Khalil even go to the deep waters whenever been past 3 rounds? He's been tired, and I know it's probably been a while, but Q-Talab, that fight, he kind of burnt out. I think he has more conservation he has to do more than Pierre, because I think Pierre's been there, fought Adesanya. I think Pierre has a more skill set to win this fight than Khalil does. So Pierre, I'm going for.
What were the odds on this one?
The odds on this one, Alex Pierre is a minus 455 favorite, and Roundtree is a plus 350 underdog. Yeah. I mean, it's going to come down. It's going to have to be a punch from nowhere that just lands.
Plus Pierre, he can do ground game to where it. What's his name? Khalil, he's always had problems with somebody taking him down.
You think Pierre's going to try to take him down?
I think if he hurts him or gets a hold of him, I think Pierre has a more skill set on the ground than Khalil does.
Really? I haven't seen Pierre on the ground at all at this point.
He went down on the ground with somebody. I can't remember who it was.
Adesanya, although he's not, so much of a ground person.
Then Adesanya take him down, though, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. But as far as like ground, I don't see Khalil. I just see him getting caught more often with Pierre's on the bottom. I just don't see Khalil taking it on the ground. I see him always standing up.
I've been, I wouldn't say a close follower of Khalil, but I've been following him basically since he got in the UFC because his story with his dad, being Boyz II Men's bodyguard and whatnot. So I have to think that see if I can remember him going on the ground like that. I know he did the Muay Thai training. He moved over there to Thailand to do the Muay Thai training. But as far as like his if he has any belts, I don't know if he does. Like Steve was saying. So
I may have tried to do ground and pound, closest thing on the ground, but he usually, he's stomping people when they're vulnerable on the ground, like kicking them in the gut.
Yeah, and wasn't he on the Ultimate Fighter now that I think about it?
He was.
Yeah, that's where I first saw him. That's why I got to know his story and whatnot.
Yeah, he lost to Corey Hendricks, and then Hendricks had to drop out. So I think Dana White brought Roundtree back.
Yeah, he doesn't have any submission wins, so this is definitely probably gonna be standing. I gotta go with the odds makers on this one, just because it's Pierre, and what we've seen from his body of work is that if it's staying on the feet, then he's most likely gonna catch you before you catch him. And I just think he's like in the top 1 percentile of strikers in the world as far as like skill and technique. So I think he gets the job done. It's probably going to come down to whoever cracks whoever first, and I think Pierre's skill is going to be able to set himself for success faster than Roundtree. But that being said, we saw Pierre get knocked out by a middleweight in Israel Adesanya a couple fights ago, 2-3 fights ago. So Roundtree, I think, hits harder than. He's not as skilled as Adesanya, but he hits harder than Adesanya. So Alex Pierre plays around in there. Don't be surprised to see him getting knocked out. But with that being said, I'll make the smart, safe pick and go with the champion and retain. Like I said, anything can happen in there, especially you go higher and higher in weight. So hopefully we'll see some fireworks. But yeah, all three of us got Pierre in this one. And we'll talk about this more in the post-fight show, but shit, if Pierre wins this one, there's always going to be rumblings of him going up again. But like I said, once we get to that point, then we'll talk about that. But yeah, that brings us to the end of the show. And you say you got a wedding this weekend, so you probably won't even get to watch live?
No, I'm not going to get to watch it live. I have a wedding or a baseball game, so I'll be doing that. But Sunday, I'll watch the replay of it all. I'll because I want to see the prelims on this for sure.
So weddings usually have a little bit earlier, so if you go to both, you won't be able to watch it, or either, or does it predicate on either?
I don't know what time the baseball game is. They don't set the times yet until they know who's playing them. So. Don't know the time on the baseball game, and then the wedding's at 3:00. It's one of my girlfriend's friends, so I don't know how long we'll be there if we do that. So I don't know if it's over early enough that I'll get in there.
What if the wedding happens the same time as the game?
She already said that we're going to the game if it happens at the same time.
Said
she said it's one of her friends, but not that good of a friend, because playoff tickets is once in a lifetime thing.
So we know where she stands on that. Well, hopefully they don't, coincide with each other, so you get to do everything. But if the game if it's a night game, yeah, that'll overlap with UFC. But like you said, there's always the replay, and hopefully you put social media and whatnot on silent, because you get spoiled real quick.
Yeah, for sure.
It's the only thing I can actually watch back. I can't watch like replays baseball or basketball or football. I just look at the results and look at highlights. But fighting, I could actually watch and avoid spoilers and watch that back. But I don't know. I'll probably be watching live and whatnot. But we'll see how this card shakes out. That'll do it for us here at Haymaker Combat Sports. Make sure to follow and like on YouTube and X and Instagram. And we'll be back next week to wrap up this card and go over the results. And until next time, be safe out there. Later.
Hit the takedown, ground and pound. That was from the top. Heel hooking on one platter, leave you in the knot. Pound for pound, been the greatest. Sitting on the top, and I'm laughing at the fools.